Welcome to another special guest episode where we dive deep into the world of remote sales, strategies, and success stories. I'm your host, Filip, and today we have a very special guest joining us, Mr. Jesse Everett, CEO of Helios Scale, leading remote sales agency and consulting firm based in Australia. Jesse has a wealth of experience in the sales industry, and today he'll share his insights on building successful teams, effective strategies, and the future of remote sales. So whether you're established remote sales rep or just starting on your journey, you are in for a treat. So let's jump right in. Mr. Jesse, welcome.
Hey, Phil. Thank you. Thank you for your kind words as well. It's the nicest thing anyone said to me for a while. So thank you.
You're welcome. Where are you calling from, first of all?
Yeah. So as you mentioned, working and running an Aussie-based company, but I'm up here in lovely, rainy, wet Vancouver, Canada, as we speak.
Nice, nice. So how did you get into this crazy industry of ours? What's your story?
Yeah, I'll condense it down. And the word crazy is probably a pretty accurate word to describe the whole industry. So, I mean, my journey started back in the pandemic times when everything moved remote. And I was actually working in film and TV, and then also as a qualified teacher working in the Department of Education back in Australia. And basically when everything shut down, there was an opportunity there for an Aussie-based company who were doing in-person events. And they moved to remote, and ultimately they helped students in Australia improve their high school scores. And I wasn't really familiar with the idea of remote sales. All I knew is I was going to take some Zoom calls and talk to some parents and some kids. My unfair advantage I had when I got that offer, though, was that I worked in the education sector. So I was quite savvy at the content. And so I didn't find it an overly difficult process to help kids through their challenges and then help parents see, the benefit of getting extra help. That ultimately led me to going down the rabbit hole of remote sales. And then I relocated over here to Canada. That's where we first had our interaction as well on a US-based offer. And basically from there, when I got over to the US, or at least the US time zone here in Canada, got onto a US offer, obviously connected very well with great people like yourself. I've spent some time on some different offers and different opportunities since then. But it all went back to that pandemic and, getting an opportunity to take some Zoom calls. And ultimately fell in love with the idea of working remotely, being able to help people. And as you said perfectly, getting fully entrenched into this kind of crazy industry that we're in.
Yeah, definitely a roller coaster, but I wouldn't trade it for anything else now that I've seen a lot from
Amen,
it.
brother.
Let's start with this. What inspired you to really start your own sales agency in particular?
Yeah, that's a great question, Phil. And I was very blessed to now to partner up with a couple of great guys out of Australia by the name of Riley White and Thomas Zographicus. I probably mispronounced Thomas's name. He'll kill me when he sees it. But great guys out of Australia, absolute geniuses in the world of marketing and sales. So they founded the company Helios Scale, and I was fortunate enough to come in its early days and essentially now starting to lead the team as the operator CEO and head of sales. But basically, my interest in coming into that world was after spending quite a number of years on calendars and taking closing calls. As I mentioned, I'm from a teaching background. My true passion is really coaching and teaching. And I noticed the opportunity to come in and help manage sales teams, help newer reps in the industry, and ultimately start to lead teams, which was always my sort of end goal in life anyway, was to lead and coach in some capacity. Just wasn't quite sure how. And since then, it's resulted in manifesting into an amazing opportunity to lead a bunch of teams in both Australia and the US, work with great guys, and ultimately, fallen in love with the idea of managing and leading. So that was kind of the transition for me. It does help, for anyone watching this to have great connections and obviously build a great reputation for yourself as a rep. And that allowed me to open the door to move into some higher leadership positions and ultimately management, and now sort of at the forefront of the company.
Excellent. Since it's been a minute since you started, how would you compare being a manager and being a rep? What's the difference? Biggest difference?
Yeah, that's a good question as well. Obviously, the big difference is, I'm not necessarily tied to a calendar, so to speak, although that's still not the case. I probably work more now than I ever have. But what the main difference is obviously now I'm more into a problem-solving mindset where each day I'm looking at how I can help other reps solve their problems or bottlenecks in the industry and funnels and areas that I really hadn't had a lot of experience in previously. Obviously, when you come in as a rep with no marketing experience, your focus is on acquiring great sales skills, and that's really the primary focus. Whereas now in management, there's so many more nuances to that in terms of being able to lead people, manage, identify bottlenecks, look behind the scenes. So that's been a new challenge, but an absolutely unbelievable experience so far, and helped me broaden my knowledge base into all the other nuances in the industry and the entire space. So there are lots of differences, very hard to kind of condense, but those would be some of the main ones that have separated from being a closer on a calendar to now managing and ultimately leading teams.
And in your early days, what were some of the biggest challenges that you faced and how did you overcome them? I bet there was a few of them since you built them up.
Yeah, and absolutely, mate. And I'm sure you can attest that the challenges actually never stop. They continue, or they just form and they get bigger. They just change. Some of the early day challenges, though, like from both sides of the coin, from being a rep, the early day challenges was establishing yourself and moving from, say, a setter to a closer. Right, that comes with a certain level of results and reputation. That's a challenge all in itself. And from a management standpoint, earning trust with new reps, earning credibility inside of a management and a leadership role, those are different challenges. The day-to-day challenges, again, they change, but some of the early challenges was actually, and I would say this for anyone who's maybe newer into the industry or any industry in that matter, is being able to build reputation and credibility for your skill set and the value you bring, and that will ultimately allow you to progress. So that's a challenge I think a lot of people face, is building enough reputation, results to showcase, hey, I'm worthy to go into this next position. There's lots of other challenges in terms of running the team, and as you know, like being a part of a big organization offers, and there's many challenges that we probably won't get into today. But those are some of the main challenges I found that are probably more applicable to people who'd be actually sort of watching this.
Yeah, imposter syndrome is real and it happens at all levels from what I saw.
100%. I'll ask you. I'll just turn the table for a sec, Phil. What's some challenges that you can share from your experience? You're well experienced in this industry now.
Oh, nice, nice. Like I said, imposter syndrome doesn't matter if you're doing seven, eight, nine figures. At each step of the way, everybody thinks that someone else, the other part of the world, has everything figured
Mm,
out and they're doing things wrong. They can have more ROAS, more
mm,
KPIs, better teams, things going more smoothly, and so on. But at the end of the day,
yes.
everybody has so many fires they're taking out on a daily
Yeah,
basis. Because it is what it is. But
that's
that's
right.
the cost of that exponential and fast growth that we all want to zero to seven figures in a month on offers and things like that.
Correct.
Tell me, could you share some daily habits that contributed to the person that you are today?
The big ugly person I am today. Just don't take care of yourself. Look, I'd say in relation to obviously this space, I'm big on congruency, and so if I'm going to talk to a prospect, and help them get out of their own way and make a change in their life or commit to something new or something difficult, then I need to do that within myself. Otherwise, in my mind, I'm completely incongruent. So daily habits for me, I mean, it revolves around being of healthy mind and body. So fitness and health is very important to just ingratiate into your daily routine. Consistent training and learning. I would consider myself an avid learner. I still go to bed listening to sales calls. I still wake up making breakfast and listening to gurus and podcasts like yourself. As much as possible, I just try to learn. And that's become something that's a compounding effect, right? If you do that enough, you will see the results, whether it be today, tomorrow, next week, or next year. It will eventually catch up to you. So in terms of a daily habit, I would always say focus on getting that. It's very cliche to say, but a penny doubled for 30 days is exponentially larger than a penny. And so that's always been my mindset, is I don't try to do everything at once. I don't try to figure everything out at once, but if I can move just one little inch forward every day over a long period of time, that will mean large growth.
Yeah, making that snowball effect. It's easier since you're in Canada, you have a lot of snow. So
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
uh,
Figuratively and literally.
I guess you had more distractions in Australia. How do you stay motivated and productive when
Yeah.
there's phone is always popping, notifications of
That
everybody asking to go
I don't know
out
how you feel, but that is one of the hardest things in today's day and age
by
is
far?
focus. Focus. We talk about it with our team. The number one asset that you can actually, or skill set that you can develop right now in our mind, is focus. We've got this TikTok brain, Phil. We're all so short focused now, right? Where we're so used to scrolling and just these little distractions that take us away from deep work, focused learning. So for me, like when we're on this podcast right now, nothing can distract me. Sorry, what was that? No, I'm just kidding with you. Nothing can distract me. There's work, everything's blocked off. My phone's out of the room, and I want to be here and present with you. And so that is something that we try to train our reps on. If you're going to work and you're going to do as from an outbound appointment setting standpoint, and you're going to hit KPI, create focus blocks of work for yourself where nothing is going to distract you, nothing's going to take away, and allow yourself to actually gain momentum. Flow state's something that's thrown around a lot in the world of sports and high performing. And I truly believe that that is just a result of actually removing distractions and being solely focused on one thing. So that is arguably the hardest thing to do. And you and I, as know, when we're remote, we're traveling, we're in different places, we're in warm countries, we're in cool countries, we're hanging out with people. There's a lot of things that take our focus away as opposed to if you're in an office job and you're in a cubicle and that's where you are day to day. So, but that's the trade-off. We're in this industry because we want the freedom in that sense, but it doesn't mean that we can't, or it doesn't mean, sorry, that we can allow ourselves to lose focus and just say, hey, I'm remote. I can spend my time here on Instagram and Facebook. This is the number one challenge, and that's one of my key areas that I focus on. Pardon the pun. Oh no, we've lost the man, the myth, the legend himself.
Boom, we're back.
Hey, let's go.
That was something new. Where were we?
Where were we, Mr. Phil? We were talking about focus. And that's a good way to test us in our focus, right? The power outage.
That's true. Making sure you were congruent, like you said.
That's right.
On a subconscious level, probably. Now, you probably also can relate. Everyone's using the same framework for ads, funnels. Everybody says, but here's the truth, And I think now products are getting more and more sophisticated. What do you think are some new trends for maybe 2026 that are coming? What would change, if anything at all?
Yeah, that's a good question, Phil. And I'd be honest in saying I'm really not too sure, and I'm going to be really interested to see how it goes. I think you said it perfectly, though, is that prospects are now more than ever more skeptical, more aware of what's going on, more inundated and flooded with ads and offers and all this sort of stuff. And so naturally, they're going to understand that everyone is trying to sell something in this day and age. And so how you separate yourself is really going to be ultimately the success in my mind. Look, at the end of the day, we have a very simple philosophy in everything we do, and it's bring as much value as possible before they ever speak to anybody. I know for a fact I'm not jumping on a call with someone unless I've got value first and foremost. So again, congruency. So if I'm not going to jump on a call with someone unless I've got value and I see that what they're doing works, or I feel like I have a level of know, like, and trust, then I wouldn't jump on. And I wouldn't expect somebody on any offer that we're running, or even our own internal offer, I wouldn't expect somebody to jump on. So I would say that would be something really key. You'll see or just about every industry, right, Phil? Like big companies, the companies that have longevity and that last, they're ultimately the ones who bring the most value to people. Obviously, yes, they market well and they have good people behind the scenes, but I see so many ads, to your point, that are just carbon copies of each other. You click on the link and it's just like they've ripped off something you've already seen, and instantly you shut down. So look, it's very cliche to say, like, you got to separate yourself. How I would say you do that is focus on bringing value first, and the rest will fall into place. So that's our mentality, and that's how we operate in everything we do.
Makes sense for me.
What would you say? What would you say for that? Like, you see so many ads, so many offers. What else would you add to that?
Exactly. Pretty much the pattern interrupt, just be yourself. Don't copy paste everything from ClickFunnels, for example. I mean, it all works. Of course, you should use the template, the workflow, but make it sound natural. On our promise. And a lot of offers have great Trustpilot reviews, money back guarantees. Also, some kind of ascension from low ticket is what I'm seeing now. Many high ticket offers are now going to the low ticket funnel because they don't want to manage team, because they don't know probably.
Yep.
So maybe that's also one of the reasons. But definitely for people that are constantly getting the content out, I mean, they'll be always all right. My good friend JD said it once in a very good way. When it floods, it always comes first from the basement, So people that are on top, they're always at the top.
That's interesting. I like that. It's a good way to look at it.
Definitely. And when you're looking to hire reps, what are you looking to? Of course, aside from experience and skills, everybody wants everybody wants A+++ player, stay savage. But how can you tell which one is just saying it and compared to one who will stay 1+ year on an offer, for example?
I love that you asked that, Phil, because it is arguably one of the key areas of the industry at the moment is recruitment and getting reps. The thing I would actually say is that from experience, yes, an A++ player is awesome. We actually don't really hire A+ players anymore. And the justification and the reasoning behind that is typically what we found is somebody who is at that level again, like it's the creme de la creme, it's the cream of the crop. However, if they come onto an offer and for whatever reason it doesn't meet their expectations immediately, there's a high churn rate and they move on.
Mm,
Whereas if we are able to bring somebody on who has some of those unteachable skills, so to speak, in terms of commitment to learning, hunger, ambition, those are the things we actually look for. Now, I would rather bring on a team full of B players, so to speak, right, and develop them and have them trained correctly and built up on an offer, even if there's a slower ramping period to the results we're looking for, rather than going straight for the top and then finding ourselves in the same situation 10 days later because they've churned. So our process is very much, we're looking outside of your ability and more in terms of some of those key areas that you would want in a rep, which is your work ethic. How often have you bounced between offers? What's your ability to actually learn? Yeah, again, I was summarized by saying if we can get a room full of amazing B players who are hungry to grow and develop, I would take that over one spoiled A player any day of the week.
that's true. And to be frank, 5% of people that are looking for A players, they don't have the revenue to really attract them in the first place. So they're gonna bump up
100%.
their OTE, inflate them as much as they can, and it's not, and everybody's just wasting time. So I don't know what's the
Yep.
thinking behind that, but sure, at the end of the day, everybody finds their home sooner or later. And it
Yep.
gets me to my next question. A lot of my friends from my communities ask me, okay, how can I stand out? There's so much
Mm.
There are too many people maybe in the industry while fighting on group interviews. Like, what can I do?
Mm.
What do you have any tips and tricks or something? Maybe think outside of the box for that one.
Yeah, we run a lot of recruitment with different clients we have, and we always, similar to yourself and many other great people in this space, they're always looking to grow their community and build good reps and pipeline. We have a free community, which I'm sure we can post in the description here, where you can jump in and just get amongst the, check out the description, guys, free plug. You can jump in and get free value. There's literally zero membership fee. It's not a low ticket. It's not a high ticket. It's a free community. We've got hundreds of people in there from around the world, tons of content, free training sessions. And so people can jump in there and get value straight away, again, to our point of bringing value. But we also run lots of interviews for people, even if we're not necessarily recruiting. The reason we do that is we want to build that pipeline and connect with good reps. And even if they go on to offers that, they move on to another offer before we have an opportunity for them, we love that. And if we've helped them by getting some content or connecting with someone, that's a win. At the end of the day, they're going to remember who brought them in or who helped them. And it's funny how things come back around. We've interviewed reps and it's not the right time for whatever reason. And then 6 months, 12 months down the road, they do come back and they're looking for another opportunity because it didn't work out or something's happened. And they come back to where they felt like they were valued and where they were actually taken care of, rather than just, hey, interview, cut, see you later. I worked in film and TV for many years. And when you go to an audition, you don't get any feedback. And if you don't get the role, you never, ever know.
Oh,
I
that's the
went to many auditions and I'm waiting to hear, and then I see the commercial or I see the project online and I go, oh, well, I didn't get it, I guess, because you just never know, right? So, that's pretty cutthroat. Whereas for what we want to do, we want, obviously to give you reasonings why it didn't work out this particular reason, but then bring you in, give you some training, whatever that needs to be. In terms of what we would look for that helps people separate, that's so kind of cliche, maybe in the box to say, but I'm just looking for authenticity. And, as humans, as prospects, we have a sixth sense for fake. And I can tell when somebody, to your point, is just telling me what I want to hear, because then when we move on from what we call like a group interview or initial interview to a stress test situation where we're under the pump and we're doing a role play, that's truly where we can separate the pretenders to the real ones. So there's no use in jumping in and trying to inflate your results or inflate what you say. I've had people come in and I know they're reading from a script, because the moment I pattern interrupt them, they're completely lost, right? And so I'm just really looking for authenticity. I'm looking for you to just be yourself. If you have certain downfalls that, in terms of your skill set, I would rather you just own that, because that shows me that you're aware and you're not trying to sugarcoat or impress me. Again, I would rather have somebody who has awareness of where they need help with and develop those people, rather than somebody who is egotistical, fake, they're inauthentic, and they're just trying to yes man their or yes lady their way through an interview to get a job. And we can spot those pretty easy. So anyone who comes to our interviews, it's very relaxed. I'm pretty chill. I just want to have fun. I play a tough prospect on the role plays, but that's for the benefit. Diamonds are created under pressure. So That's one of the key areas that we might even touch on, and throughout this podcast is like what we look for in an interview, and it really is just somebody who can be themselves and is totally okay sitting in a pressure situation, because it doesn't have to be perfect. But what I look for is actually somebody who sits in that situation, and rather than putting their hand up and saying, I don't know what to do here, I'm stuck, I'm frozen, I just let it go and see how long it takes them just to get back on the horse, just to start again. That for me shows a lot of character.
Couldn't agree more. And now we're at that famous culture. What does culture mean to you? Everybody's saying, yeah, we have a great culture at
Yeah.
the company. How to build it and how
Yeah.
to describe it.
I think it's really subjective, and everyone's definition is going to be different. It's one of those buzzwords as well, right? Like that's rolling around at the moment, like great team culture. What is team culture? Like at the end of the day, it means different things to different people. In our mind, when we see reps and they're bought into the culture, there's a few key things that we'll see. And number one, it's loyalty. They might have other opportunities, and yes, people move on to other opportunities, and I would never stifle somebody's growth when there's another opportunity there for them. But I've seen our reps, like what would you say, Phil? Like from your experience, what's a typical like churn rate on an offer? Like how long would on average, do you think would somebody stay?
That's an excellent question. Now I saw even in the software industry on a worldwide, when we look at it from that perspective, they have 50% more churn than in the last 5 years, which is absolutely insane. Even the biggest companies have unlimited budget. I would say depends if they overhire and then filter out the best. But once someone's ramp up, I would say, I don't know, 3 months, 9 months.
Yeah, you're spot on. I reckon about 3 to 4 months is like your typical. If you get someone in 9 months, you've probably done pretty well. Our reps typically are staying more than 12 months on the offers that we've had since we've been in the industry. And again, like it's not to say, oh, we're the best or anything like that. But what we try to build is a culture where we're looking at a long-term vision together and want to equip you with everything you need so that you feel like when you show up to work, that not only do you have clear expectations and clear money-making opportunities. At the end of the day, everyone's here to make money. Can't beat around the bush there, right? So that has to be in place. But also, what else would a rep look for? They look for support. They want to know that their leaders are actually on field and they have support there. They want to know that when they're working with other people, that they have the same mentality of, hey, look, this is a team effort. This is not about me. When I look in the CRM and I see our reps actually tagging each other and saying, hey, this person called you back. Hey, you've missed this message. That for me is ultimate culture. Because it's so easy to jump in and say, oh, this person called back, I'll take this lead. But that just erodes the team camaraderie. So that is one of the best things I could ever see in a team is somebody in a CRM saying, hey, I just called this lead. They're keen to jump on a call, but you've already spoken with them. I suggest you give them a call back, or I told them to give you a call, or you give them a call. That for me is what culture is all about, because it's not about me, it's about the team. And at the end of the day, if the team is performing and there's a big pie, our philosophy is we want everyone to have a bigger piece of the pie. So we keep our team lean and mean, and we keep everyone on the same page, and therefore everyone eats well. So that for me is what culture truly looks like.
Absolutely. Tell me, how can someone grow really fast as a sales professional, whether they're just starting out as a seller, CSM, maybe senior manager,
Yeah.
closer, leader? What can they do to really force everybody wants to have that quantum leaps today, if
Yeah.
not next week,
Yeah.
the furthest,
Yeah.
but well, let's say in the next few months, what can they
Yeah.
do?
Yeah, and look, I'm probably not going to say anything too groundbreaking here that people don't already hear. I just liken it to the gym, right? If somebody wants to start a gym or a fitness routine, you don't go 10 hours one time for 3 months.
Yeah.
You don't get results that way. You don't go 5 hours on one day and then not the rest of the week, right? You do 1 hour 5 times a week and you'll get much better results. Also, though, if you go for 5 days a week, 1 hour a day at the gym, you're also not going to see immediate results in that first week. 2 weeks, you're going to see it. It's a delayed effect, right? As the results eventually catch up. And so one of the biggest things I see people make is they get frustrated really quickly because their results aren't where they want it to be. But there's a lag period, right? If you put in a certain amount of work, there's a lag period. So for somebody who wants to get better in any of their disciplines, whether they're beginning more entry level in appointment setting, or they're a leader or a manager, I knew for myself that if I showed up every day and I listened and I was open to feedback, I was able to be coached, and I always had something that I was working on, right? I'm working on a particular skill set, or I'm working on a particular bit of feedback. Again, it doesn't have to be everything in one day, rather the compounding effect of consistency. So I would say if you want to grow, make it your daily mission to have focused learning time, that focus period, right, Phil? Get exactly, let laser
Probably.
focused, even if it's 30 minutes, 1 hour a day on a particular area you need to improve. Obviously, for an appointment setter, it's fairly different to what a manager would need to work on. As an appointment setter, you're going to need to work on reviewing your framework and integrating that into you so that you don't have to sell with a script when you're on the phone. If you're a closer, it might be, your area of improvement might be better objection handling. It might be a certain area of the call that's lacking, or as a manager, your ability to connect with your team or lead your team. There's so many nuances to each area, but I would say, like, if you focus specifically on one area and you compound that effort over a long period of time and you stay the game, you will have success. In fact, probably my biggest bit of advice, the people who have the most success in life are the ones who can persevere the longest, who can stay the course.
I always say that it's a ultra marathon. It's not a sprint. So
Yes, I
I see
agree.
so many people that just come into any industry, restaurant
Yeah,
industry, of course, online sales or whatever it
yeah,
is, drop shipping.
yeah.
They try to ride a wave, get that motivation, that hype, but after 6 months, a year or two, third year,
Mm,
it just goes down, which is
yeah,
very, very interesting
yeah.
how it's so hard for us nowadays to have that delayed gratification, just like you said.
100%. You're a very skilled rep and you work with some amazing people in the industry. What would be your perspective on that? Like, how would somebody improve regardless of where they're at in their role? What would you add to that?
Definitely, I would say networking is number one. It's not
Mm,
how hard you row, it's the boat you're in. Why everybody's targeting US, why nobody's targeting third world countries, of course, is the buying power, credit cards, history
yeah.
of purchase and everything, their mindset. That's by far, I would say networking, but you need to do it right. Everybody says, yeah, network, just two broke people trying to break in the industry. They just chit chat and waste time together. That's not networking.
Mm,
Just join paid premium communities, have a mentor, someone who's a few steps ahead, doing something nowadays, not something 10 years ago. I think, that's going to help people the most. But of course, you can do it without it.
mm,
Just so many outreaches. Present yourself with that energy. Always try to over deliver, bring value, start from the bottom up, prove yourself, and the world is yours. Since everybody's the way people communicate, hey, do you have a job? Hey, it's so fascinating. They don't know how to lead with value. If anytime, hey, watch your content. Hey, just anything, they just jump straight to it. And
yeah.
that I want to ask you also, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people make over and over? Maybe it doesn't have to be reps; it can be also business owners on the off
Mm.
you take. Do you see any patterns? Probably there are a lot of them, but some most common ones.
Great question, Phil. Great question. What we're focusing on at the moment with our own internal offer, in addition to the clients we work with, is actually more around ROAS and
Yeah.
helping people. If you're going to invest money into your business, how can you maximize what ultimately comes back? That's a challenge in itself. Now, how you fix that, we would be here probably all day. It's obviously very nuanced and layered. One of the challenges, though, I think people have is that they jump into this industry with the wrong expectations. Like that's arguably the biggest challenge I see or problem people have. And that comes from this inundation on social media of these perfect lifestyles, right? These people who have been in remote sales for 3 months and they're making 50K a month on the beach, right? Or business owners, with Lamborghinis and, they're in Dubai. This is a extremely small minority of people. And of course, they're only showing the best parts of their life. So I think one of the biggest problems from a broad perspective is actually a misalignment of expectations on how difficult it is in anything in life to have success in something, to be a really high achiever. So I would say, well, regardless if you're a business owner or a rep or wherever you fit into this space or this world, know that shit is hard. Like it's going to take time and you need to be willing to stay the course. If you can understand that, then you will automatically put more time into developing skill sets. You will execute with more patience. You will have a greater level of intent and commitment to learn and have longevity in what you're doing because your expectation is nothing happens overnight. Very cliche to say, but we do forget that, especially with all the stuff we see online these days. That's something I remind myself of every day, that don't expect it today. Again, it will catch up as long as I do what I'm meant to do, which is stay the course, stay consistent, stay persistent.
Yeah, small wins. I always recommend the book Power of Habit and Atomic Habits. If you're just 1% better every day, it's tax. Probably have it on the shelf. Huh?
Yeah, it's on my shelf there. Yeah, great one.
What else do you have over there?
I got the Kama Sutra. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Yeah, got some interesting ones. Got some acting books in there as well. I mentioned earlier it was a film and TV, and I see a lot of correlations between sort of the acting world and the sales space. So I
Right.
love
So that, yeah.
love reading acting books. There's so many relatable concepts in there. Some finance books, some sort of mindset, some subconscious programming. Without getting too whimsical on it, I quite enjoy sort of the power of the mind and subconscious. Some finance books. So that's a very small part of it. It's very aesthetically pleasing to have some books there. But yeah, a bit of a mix going on the shelf there, Phil.
Now, a rapid fire pattern interrupt question. Are you ready?
Sure.
Who do you think would be the best closer out of all famous actors?
Well, that's a great question. I've never been asked. Who'd be the best closer? All
Doesn't
famous
have to be
actors.
hard closer. It can be whatever style they're in. Since we can see how well they turn characters. For example,
Yeah.
Christian Bale, he added 50 kilos up and down for some role, which is insane.
Yeah. Great question. You know what? It's really hard to say, and I'm sure there's a bunch of actors who would probably be
For your mind.
amazing reps. The one who comes to my mind straight away is Tom Hardy, and I'll tell you why. Is because Tom Hardy has this incredible ability to not just be malleable, but when you watch him, he is so focused on the other person in the scene that he allows them to actually dictate his actions. And that's one of the key concepts in sales that I see relating to acting is that they're all following a script. Like, yes, there might be moments of improvisation, but ultimately they're following a script because the writer spent too much time developing a script for them not to follow it. Right, the director. There's other pieces to the machine. Same as a sales rep. A sales rep comes on and they think they are the be all and end all. They're the key person. Well, I'm sorry to say, you're not. You are only one part of the entire machine. Right? Somebody is spending money on marketing. Somebody's managing the offer. Somebody wrote the framework. Somebody's doing fulfillment. You are just one dispensable cog, whether you like it or not. And you have to honor the greater purpose of what it's doing. Same as in a film, you have to honor the story. One of the key things. So to your question, who'd be a great closer? I'd say Tom Hardy was one who came to my mind because he's so intensely focused on the other person that allows him to have authentic reactions. And that's why he's so believable. That's why he's so engaging. And that would be the lesson out of that is if you pin all of your focus on the other person, I can assure you the answers and the questions will be there.
And everybody says that prospects really, really love UK accent. Maybe that. Have you heard that before?
Yeah, they do. I mean, it's
I don't know why, but yeah, it's interesting. A lot of people say it.
if Tom Hardy wants to whisper sweet nothings to me, I'm not going to object.
He gets a brownie point for that one. Nice. I asked this, I think, almost everyone. What would you suggest someone who tries to break into sales in 2026?
How are they going to break in or what can they do?
Yeah, so they can hit the ground running and don't waste needless time.
Yeah, great. You're good questions, Phil. You're good questions. You're a pro. Hey, look, I'm going to touch this back to the world of acting just because that was my bread and butter. When somebody came into an audition or somebody wanted to, hopefully you don't hear the vacuum that's going on in the background there.
Right.
It's taking my focus, Phil. When somebody comes into, say, an audition room, or when I was running a talent academy in Australia and we got thousands and thousands of talent coming through of all ages, when you've got no experience and you're coming into something, what can you ultimately do that will allow somebody to see how much value you can bring if you have none? Because if you've got experience or a sales call or you've got a referral, that's a bit of an easier way in, right? But what if somebody's watching this and they're like, I've just learned about high ticket sales. I want to do this. And they're going to come into it next year. In the acting world, what you need is a headshot, quality headshot, not something taken on a phone as a selfie in a dark room. They need a headshot. You need a resume, right? Any relevant experience or what's your experience in life, right? And then you also need what we would call a show reel, which is a video reel of any work you've done. Now, if you've never done any professional work, you're not really going to have a show reel, right? However, everyone's got a phone these days, so they can make a video in character, doing a monologue, presenting something so we can see. So how do we relate this back to somebody getting into high ticket sales? Get a professional photo done, right? It's not hard to do. It shows that you can put it on your profiles, automatically increases credibility. Create a resume, show what you've done in the past. What training have you done? What certificates do you have? What experience in anything, right? And then do a video, a Loom video, a role play video, cut it up, like learn iMovie, learn Premiere Pro and cut something up. I don't care if it's really dodgy or if it's not the best quality in terms of the skill set. It's actually the initiative that I see to be like, hey, you've taken the time to present as much of you as possible. And I can assure you, if you have a good Loom video or a role play video, you've got a resume and a headshot and you can package that up, you will get your foot in the door and that's all you really need.
100%. When I'm hiring, when I see people are just lazy, it's so easy to be in the top, let's say 5% of the applicants.
Yeah.
Say 100 to 200 applicants.
Yeah.
Just do those things that you just mentioned, and
Yeah.
you actually respond promptly
Yeah.
with some kind regards, just a little bit of professional
That's
sprinkle
right.
on that.
It's not hard. And look, this is a really could be really like brash thing to say, but when I watch a video, like if somebody submits a video to me,
That's 6 months
let
old,
me
right?
let me ask you a question, Phil. When you're watching a TV show or a film, how long do you typically give it before you like change or decide whether or not you want to continue watching?
Yeah, no, I'm not watching TV, but let's say or some reel or something online nowadays
Yeah.
on the phone, few seconds maybe.
Few seconds, right? So if somebody's going to submit a video, they've really got a few seconds to engage you to want to watch it more. The amount of Loom videos I receive where it's dark and their opening line is mumbled. You might have an amazing finish to that video, but unfortunately, I never saw it. I just don't have the time. I don't have the bandwidth or the want to even watch that. And I don't say that to be like really cruel. It's just the nature of this world right now. And so the tip I would give somebody is if our attention span or somebody a great hiring person like yourself or our company, you've got a very short window to get in. And I'm looking at it's not hard to get in a well lit area. It's not hard to present yourself well on camera. These are little things you need no experience for and ultimately will open the doors. If you're watching this, just go that little step further, make sure you're professional, present yourself as best possible, and ultimately, again, you'll get your foot in the door.
Perfect. And if you want to start or level up, now it's Black Friday week, so it's the best time of the year. People
Great
have
time.
credit cards close to them. They're in that
Yeah,
buyer mode. So
that's right.
DM me if you have any questions or Jesse, and we'll be here to help.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Jesse, for sharing your story with us. And it's been
Of
a
course,
pleasure.
mate.
It's been a pleasure to have you on. And for our listeners, remember to check out Helios in the chat. I'll drop all the links you can check over there. And until next time, keep up the good work and try to
Thank you,
be
Phil.
better every day.
Thank you,
Cheers.
sir. Keep doing great stuff. Appreciate you.
Boom.